Hello, everyone. Welcome to English Moments, the podcast where we share stories, learn English, and grow together. I'm so happy you're here with me today. We're going to talk about something really special, a small act of kindness that changed my life. This is a story about how one small gesture from a stranger made a big difference in my life, and I hope it will inspire you to think about the power of kindness in your own life. Before we start, let's learn a few useful words that will help you understand the story better. The first word is kindness. Kindness means being friendly, generous, or caring to someone. For example, if you help a friend with their homework, that's an act of kindness. Another example could be giving up your seat on the bus for someone who needs it more. Kindness doesn't have to be big, it can be small, but it always makes someone feel better. The second word is encourage. To encourage means to give someone support or confidence. For example, if your friend is nervous about a test, you might encourage them by saying, "I know you can do it." Or maybe a teacher encourages you to keep trying, even when something is hard. These two words, kindness and encourage, will be important in today's story. Let's keep them in mind as we go along. Now let me share my story with you. A few years ago, I was going through a really tough time. I had just moved to a new city for my first job after finishing university. I was 22 years old, and I had never lived so far away from my family before. My hometown was a small place where everyone knew each other, and I always felt safe and supported there. But this new city was big, busy, and unfamiliar. I didn't know anyone, and I felt so lonely. I missed my parents, my younger brother, and even my dog, who always made me laugh after a long day. On top of that, I was nervous about my new job. It was my first real job, and I wasn't sure if I was good enough. I kept thinking, what if I make a mistake? What if I can't do this? I felt like giving up almost every day. One Saturday morning, I decided to get out of my tiny apartment and go to a cafe nearby. I thought maybe a change of scenery would help me feel better. I brought my laptop with me because I had some work to finish, but honestly, I was too stressed to focus. I sat at a small table near the window staring at my screen, but my mind was somewhere else. I kept thinking about how lonely I felt, how I didn't have any friends in this city, and how I wasn't sure if I could handle my job. I probably looked really sad because my shoulders were slumped and I had a worried expression on my face. That's when something unexpected happened. A woman sitting at the table next to me smiled at me. She was older, maybe in her 50s, and she had a kind, gentle face. Her hair was gray, tied back in a neat bun, and she was wearing a light blue scarf. She looked like someone's mom or grandmother, someone who might bake cookies on the weekends or tell you stories about her childhood. She was drinking a cup of tea and reading a book, but she put the book down and looked at me. Then she asked, "Are you okay, dear?" Her voice was soft and warm, like she really cared about the answer. I was surprised because I didn't expect a stranger to talk to me. In the city, everyone always seemed so busy, rushing from one place to another, not paying attention to the people around them. But this woman noticed me, and she took the time to ask if I was okay. I didn't know what to say at first, but I felt like I could trust her. So I said, "Not really. I'm just struggling." I didn't go into details because I didn't want to bother her, but she nodded like she understood. Another thing that happened was that I started to open up more. I had been so shy and scared in the new city that I didn't talk to anyone. But after the woman's act of kindness, I realized that there were probably other kind people out there too. So I started saying hello to my coworkers, asking them how their day was going, and joining them for lunch sometimes. At first, it felt awkward because I'm naturally a quiet person. But over time, I made friends. One of my coworkers, a girl named Emily, became my first real friend in the city. We started hanging out after work, going to movies, or just walking around the park. Having a friend made the city feel less lonely and more like home. I also started to explore the city more. In the beginning, I had been too overwhelmed to go anywhere except my apartment, work, and the grocery store. But now, I felt braver. I went to a local library and found books I loved. I visited a small park near my apartment and discovered that I loved sitting there in the evenings, watching the sunset. I even found a little bakery that sold the best chocolate chip cookies I've ever had. I wrote about all these things in my notebook. I'm grateful for the library. I'm grateful for the park. I'm grateful for chocolate chip cookies. Slowly, the city didn't feel so scary anymore. It started to feel like a place where I could belong. Looking back, I can see how much that one small act of kindness changed my life. The woman at the cafe didn't have to talk to me. She didn't have to give me her notebook or share her advice. But she did, and it made all the difference. Her kindness gave me a new way to cope with my struggles. Writing down 3 things I was grateful for every day helped me focus on the positive parts of my life, even when things were hard. It gave me hope, and it reminded me that I wasn't alone. It also encouraged me to be more open to other people, which helped me make friends and feel more at home in the city. But the story doesn't end there. About a year later, something amazing happened. I was at the same cafe where I had met the woman. I had become a regular there by then. I loved their coffee, and it was a great place to work or read. I was sitting at my usual table by the window, writing in my notebook, when I noticed someone familiar walk in. It was the woman with the light blue scarf. I recognized her immediately, even though I hadn't seen her since that day. She looked the same, gray hair in a bun, kind eyes, and that same scarf. She ordered her tea and sat down at a table nearby. I felt so nervous, but I knew I had to say something. I walked over to her table and said, "Excuse me, do you remember me?" She looked up, a little surprised, but then she smiled and said, "Oh, yes. You're the girl who was having a tough day, right?" I couldn't believe she remembered me. I said, "Yes, that's me. I just wanted to thank you. You gave me a notebook and told me to write down 3 things I'm grateful for. That advice changed my life." I told her everything, how I had been so lonely and scared when I first moved to the city, how her kindness gave me hope, and how I started writing in the notebook every day. I told her about the friends I made, the places I discovered, and how much happier I was now. I said, "I still use the notebook you gave me. It's almost full now, but I carry it with me everywhere. I just wanted you to know how much your kindness meant to me." Sh- Her eyes got a little teary, and she said, "I'm so glad I could help. I didn't realize how much it would mean to you. Thank you for telling me." We talked for a little while longer. Her name was Margaret, and she told me she had moved to the city when she was young too, so she knew how hard it could be. She said she always tried to be kind to people because you never know what someone might be going through. Before I left, I gave her a big hug and thanked her again. I went back to my table feeling so happy, like a full circle had been completed. That experience taught me a lot about kindness. It showed me that even a small act, like a kind word, a smile, or a little gift, can make a big difference in someone's life. You might not realize it at the time, but your kindness could be exactly what someone needs to keep going. It also reminded me that we're all connected. We all have struggles, but we can help each other, even in small ways. Since that day, I've tried to be more like Margaret. I try to notice the people around me and offer a kind word or a helping hand whenever I can. For example, if I see someone who looks stressed at work, I might say, "You're doing great. Don't worry." Or if I see a neighbor carrying heavy bags, I'll offer to help. These things might seem small, but I know now that they can mean a lot. I also learned the power of gratitude. Writing down 3 things I'm grateful for every day has become such an important part of my life. It's not just about the big things like getting a new job or having a best friend. It's about the small things too, like a sunny day, a good cup of coffee, or a kind stranger. Gratitude helps me stay positive, even when life gets hard. It reminds me to focus on what I have, not what I don't have, and it makes me feel more connected to the world around me. I want to share a few more examples of small acts of kindness that I've experienced or witnessed since then, because I think they'll inspire you too. One time, I was on the bus, and I noticed a young boy who looked really nervous. He was holding a map, and he kept looking around like he was lost. An older man sitting nearby noticed him too. The man asked, "Do you need help finding your stop?" The boy nodded and showed him the map. The man explained which stop the boy needed to get off at, and even told the bus driver to make sure the boy didn't miss it. The boy looked so relieved, and he thanked the man over and over. It was such a simple thing, but it made the boy's day so much better. Another time, I was at the grocery store, and I forgot my wallet at home. I had already picked out all my groceries, and I was so embarrassed when I realized I couldn't pay. The woman behind me in line saw what happened and said, "Don't worry, I'll pay for you." I tried to say no, but she insisted. She said, "I've been in your shoes before. It's no trouble." I was so grateful, and I promised to pay it forward. A few weeks later, I saw someone else in a similar situation at the store, and I paid for their groceries too. It felt so good to pass on that kindness. I also want to talk about how kindness doesn't always have to come from other people. It can come from ourselves too. Sometimes we're really hard on ourselves. We might think, "I'm not good enough," or "I should be doing better." But we can practice kindness by being gentle with ourselves. For example, if I have a bad day at work, I try not to beat myself up about it. Instead, I'll tell myself, "It's okay, you did your best, and tomorrow is a new day." Or I'll treat myself to something small, like a piece of chocolate or a walk in the park. Being kind to ourselves helps us feel stronger and more capable of handling life's challenges. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a small act of kindness that changed your life? Maybe a friend helped you when you were feeling down, or a stranger did something kind that you'll never forget. Or maybe you did something kind for someone else, and it made you feel good too. I'd love to hear your stories. You can share them in the comments on our YouTube channel or on our social media pages. Let's create a community where we can share kindness and inspire each other. I really believe that the more kindness we put into the world, the better the world will be. Before we finish, I want to give you a little challenge. This week, try to do one small act of kindness every day. It doesn't have to be big. It can be as simple as smiling at someone, holding the door open for a stranger, or saying something nice to a friend. And at the end of the day, write down 3 things you're grateful for, just like I did with my notebook. I promise it will make you feel happier and more connected to the people around you. If you want, you can share your experience with me. I'd love to know how it goes. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've talked about today. Kindness is powerful. It doesn't matter how small it seems. It can change someone's day or even their life, like it did for me. The woman at the cafe, Margaret, didn't know how much her words and her notebook would mean to me. But her kindness gave me hope, helped me build new habits, and made me a more positive person. Gratitude is powerful too. Taking a few minutes each day to think about what we're thankful for can change the way we see the world. It helps us focus on the good things, even when life is hard. And finally, we're all connected. We all have struggles, but we can support each other with small acts of kindness. We can make the world a better place, one kind gesture at a time. I hope this story has inspired you to think about kindness in your own life. Maybe it's reminded you of a time when someone was kind to you, or maybe it's encouraged you to be kinder to others. Either way, I'm so glad I could share this with you. Thank you for listening to this episode of English Moments. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future episodes. I'll be back soon with more stories, more English lessons, and more moments to share. Until then, remember, a little kindness goes a long way. Bye for now.